Stay tuned for another episode of the Coming Soon podcast with Spider.
Hey everybody, Spider here once again, Coming Soon Podcast, San Antonio, Texas. I actually have a local with me today, man, and Joshua Collins, my man. San Antonio, man, born and raised, bro. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me on, Spider.
No, not a problem, man. And of course, we talked a little bit right before we jumped on, but of course, I have you on here for a few reasons, man. And one of them is because the filmmaking, bro. I mean, obviously, you're working on projects. You've been working on projects, and you're slowly but surely getting up there, man. You're starting to creep into, we'll go ahead and pop it up. The San Diego, is it a film festival as well?
Yeah, it's San Diego Comic-Con, the big one that they host out, biggest in the nation. So yeah, we'll be film I produce is going to be showing there in a few weeks. So we're super stoked to finally fly over and represent 2-0. We're super
Man,
happy.
is that one of those go big or go home kind of things, man?
Yeah,
I mean,
we like to treat every project like it's go big or go home. That's how it is.
For sure, man. And of course, man. I mean, when it comes to San Antonio, bro. I mean, of course. What high school did you go to? Let me ask you that.
Yeah, I didn't come from a public high school in San Antonio. I came from a charter school called Great Hearts. So I got very used to sweaters and ties. I look like Dead Poet Society every day for 5 days a week. But but no, it was good. I got to read a lot of classic books, and that really turned me on to really falling in love with stories and storytelling. Stories that could be relevant 700 years ago are still really good today. They're still really prevalent. So when I really fell in love with film during my schooling at UTSA, I felt myself falling back to the stories that I really loved and seeing what I can do, what aspects I can pull, what kind of tropes really worked then, and how can these be implemented into the stories that I want to make, the stories that I want to tell, whether it's about San Antonio or taking place in San Antonio. How does it all like intertwine with what I want to do?
No, for sure, man. And of course, when it comes to storytelling, because like you just mentioned, I mean, they go on forever, bro. I mean, is that one of the things that kind of motivates you for you to be able to put a story out there that people are going to talk about, even after we're gone? Did I lose you
What's
on
that,
that one?
Spider? I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. No,
Yeah,
you kind of
sorry.
froze
I
on
think
me.
the rain's finally starting to come down. Sorry about that.
Oh man, okay, yeah, and that's I was hoping 35 traffic would would stall it a little bit, but no, man. I mean,
Sorry.
I was just mentioning as far as the storytelling, is that kind of something that motivates you? I mean, being able to write something that's going to be talked about even after we're gone.
Yeah, I come from a family of storytellers, whether it's my mom or my dad, but just having fond memories of my grandpa, my grandma, my tios, just going on these long stories about their childhoods and things that they experienced. They had such a way with, not to sound cliche, but they had such a way with words and like really grabbing me in, even as a young child, that a lot of these narrative devices still stuck with me. So growing up, I feel like storytelling is something that would come easy for my family. And so, but doing it in film is an entirely different thing. You have to plan things out, you have to write, you have to produce, you got to know camera angles and everything. So that was kind of a challenge at first, but I still knew the original stories that I wanted to tell. It was just a matter of learning how to do it and how to
Right.
bring it to my friends and family that I wanted to see my projects.
Yeah, and let me ask you, because of course, storytelling. I mean, we're both from here in San Antonio, man. I mean, for me growing up, I mean, I'm older than you, but for me growing up, it was always those nights when the cousins, the aunts would come over and play bingo, man. Everybody just start having a good time and talking about, growing up out there in the middle of nowhere. Kind of like the meme goes, they used to walk barefooted in the snow back and forth. It's just like,
Yeah, man. I have very fond memories of spending the night at my grandma's, hanging out with my cousins, and whether she's telling me about, you know, the days when she was in Laredo, or she would have to take road trips up to North Dakota, or just talking to my cousins and, just playing Call of Duty together. They're just very fond memories, whether we're watching movies or just interacting with each other. Looking back on it, I didn't really realize I had such a childhood that revolved around stories. I feel like in Latino households, it's just very common. Your story is not going to be like 20 seconds. You're gonna go on for 5 minutes. You're gonna know everything about everyone, whether you want to or not.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that you beat me to it, man. But yeah, man. I mean, of course, I mean, growing up the same way, man. I mean, it's just I think that's one of the things that's gotten lost through eight generation because of course technology has kind of taken over when it comes to reading. I mean, everything's on. I think my oldest at one point she would read a lot, and she still does. But we have bought her one of
Mhm.
those. I went blank, but the actual like a tablet. I
Like
forgot what you.
like a Kindle or a
There you go, Kindle. That's the word, man. And we had bought her one of
yeah.
those, and it was just like that. You can order books, and I'm like, okay, and I went along with it because it was easier. But those are the times that I kind of miss because we used to go to bookstores, we used to go to Barnes and Nobles, we used to go, half
Yeah.
price books,
Go
you
to the
know.
essay library, go to Half Price
Yeah,
Books.
exactly,
Exactly.
bro,
Yeah.
exactly.
No,
You see, and
I
then
still read like physical books. It's off
nice.
screen, but I have a little library with like a little stack of
Okay,
books
cool,
for
man.
everything that I always want to get my hands on. Yeah.
Sweet, man. And we actually at work, where I work at right now, man, we actually have a book club. So that's one of the things I was kind of like, okay, cool, man. Like I've been wanting to get back to reading. I mean, I had been doing it just to kind of practice and be able to pronounce and for the podcast itself. But at the same time, I was like, man, I kind of miss it, because I mean, like I said, with my kids, we go to half price books, we go some, whatever bookstore, we go to the park, we throw a blanket and we just sit down, lay out and read a book, and that was it, man. But that's
Mhm.
how we bonded, and it's
Yeah.
just like now I want to go get back to it, man.
Yeah,
And
man.
of
It's
course, man,
books
let me
are
actually go ahead.
no, I'm just books are such an incredible way of preserving stories. I think I always encourage people to read books, whether it's digitally or not. These are stories that have your grandma's grandma. This transcends generations. I Reading's incredible.
No, no, for sure. I mean, you get lost in thought too, man. I mean, that was one of the biggest things for me
Yeah.
was reading the books before the movie, because I would read the book and it's just like, man,
Mhm.
I would like, man, did I just watch a movie or what did I read? Because they'd be that in detail. But but let me ask you, I mean, you said it became natural pretty much because of the storytelling for yourself to be able to write. But I mean, when did you start writing though? At what age?
I writing in general, or do you mean writing like for the screen? I've
Well, just in
I've
general,
only
in
been
general.
writing. I've had to write since I was in high school, whether just the amount of like assignments I was given, or whether it was writing big long reports on the books I'd read. I got used to it very quickly, and so it became pretty natural. And then sometime in late 2022, I really kind of put pen to paper for a script. And, everybody's first movie is not their best, but I could see that through trial and error, as I did more, I started to figure it out more. I started to figure out aspect ratios, camera lenses, camera angles, positions, different movements. And then I also picked up how to be like how to write better. Is this how people communicate with each other? What is it? There's a lot of nonverbals that go in, like how I'm like waving my hand. That's You can't really write that, but this is
Yeah,
just how people act. And it just through sheer trial and error, you really pick up on the little nuances that people have. If someone stutters, or if they pick up on something, that's not something you should write out. It's natural.
yeah,
That makes for a more realistic movie. You don't want it to look like it's robotic, where people are
right.
talking. Yeah, but yeah, no,
No,
it's
no.
all been in trial and error. Yeah.
Nice, man. I was gonna say too, because like I mentioned earlier, man. I mean, I'm older than you, man. But when it comes to for me in high school, I used to read comics books from elementary, middle school, and high school. I
Oh
was still
yeah.
reading them. But we had this reading and writing class. I think it was my freshman year, and our teacher at the time, Miss Adams, and her name just popped in my head. But she's always as soon as we get to the class, she's like, "Okay, everybody, write me a summary of what you're thinking right now." And every day I would just sit down and it was just natural, bro. I would just write down as far as how the day went, what went on. And I was one of those where I would write like what I was literally thinking. And a lot of times it wasn't great stuff, man, or it was a thought of something that happened. Somebody passed away, this, whatever happened that day. And she was always,
Mhm.
man, I was always making her cry, bro. Like not on purpose, but I would write and she'd be like, "Oh my God, like Mario, this is great." And everybody look at me and I'm like, damn, dude, like I don't like that kind of attention, man. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I would get embarrassed. But but it was
Yeah.
just crazy because she was like, wow, and after class she'd be like, oh, this was so great. go home and write me about, something else. And I would, I enjoyed it, but it's just, I just didn't want to be the guy getting in front of the class to explain it, bro. That wasn't me.
Yeah. No, it's the social anxiety would kick in.
Yeah.
You get
Oh
all
yeah. Big time.
nervous and red. Yeah. Mhm.
Man, but of course, man. I mean, writing as far as like from school, but for you to actually start writing for film, when did that become a thing?
Yeah, my story is a little unorthodox, but I really started falling in love with movies when I was in college, and then one day through a friend of a friend, I met with someone who used to represent Robert Rodriguez, and she really influenced me to just give writing a shot. It's okay if it's not good. It's okay if it's bad. Just give it a shot, and just by sheer writing, starting with bullet points of like, well, this is something I want to do, and then if I do this, this happens. Chronicling a story, I really fell in love with actual storytelling. Creating characters, creating motives, creating like acts was really interesting to me. If it were up to me, I would only write. I would just write all the time. But because this was the first thing I ever did, a director's job is to bring the writing to life. And I was like, well, nobody knows like the vision I have for this, then I might as well do it myself. And then that's when I just fell head over heels for it. And so now every time I'm like, well, if I'm writing it, then I know what I want. I'm like, now I can say, well, these are the shots I want. I want like an over the shoulder for this, or I want a 2-shot for this. And I sound like I know what I'm doing now, just from doing it so many times. But yeah, I've only been writing for a little less than 2 years now, but it feels like I don't. I know a lot of people will make a project and try and take a break for some time, but as soon as we're done filming, I'm thinking in the back of my head, okay, what's next? What's the next thing I can work on?
Nice.
Every second that I'm sitting on my hands, someone else is working on something. I'm like, can't have that. You gotta do something. I'll just get bored.
No, no, for sure, man. You see, and that's one of the things too, because a lot of times, I mean, for myself, I mean, I always tell people I have idle hands. I got to keep moving. I got to keep doing something. I can't just
Exactly.
be home and not do anything, because when it comes to, I mean, just for example, like the podcast, I do go to work, I do photography, I do some video, and it's just like, as soon as I'm at work and I'm thinking something pops in my head and I have to write it down now because I forget, bro. But I'm like, oh wow, okay, you know what? Whether
Yeah.
it's a good idea, a good like you said, looking at different angles, looking at different the sceneries, dude. I'm a sucker for sceneries. Well, I mean, especially I do a lot of combat sports when it comes to photography. So when I shoot a
Oh
photo, it's
yeah.
just like I angle everything, man. And it's like people are like, man, it's a great photo. And I'm like, yeah, it is, like I'm surprised, but I see something other people don't, and that's what makes a photo great for me.
That's
Um,
badass, man.
let me ask
Yeah,
you
combat
for
sports are really
yourself.
interesting. Yeah.
Yes. Oh yeah.
What's that?
No, I was just gonna ask you. I mean, of course, when it comes to writing, do you still write on paper? I mean, is this something that you're constantly old school?
Usually I'll write the ideas I have on paper, and
Yeah.
then once I have something that I feel like looks like a weak skeleton, then I'll take it to like my computer or final draft, and then I'll flesh it out. But usually I steal from Alex Garland's writing style, which is he writes the entire movie in bullet points, as in like this happens, then this happens, then this happens, and then you divide it
Yeah.
into acts. And then all I do is I take those like from my journal, and then I go to each bullet point on my computer and I flesh it out into like a longer paragraph, or if that's pages long. It sounds really simple, but it works. And if it ain't broke, I don't plan on fixing it right now.
No, no, not at all, man. I mean, I actually think that's probably one of the best way. I mean, for myself as well, it's one of the best ways to go about it because you already have the story in your head, so it's just a matter of making it a little bit longer, putting some detail, names, characters. Let me ask you, when it comes to characters, I mean, how do you go about coming up with the names?
Oh man, I love coming up with names. That I like character creation, like like video games where you can make a character. I have so much fun doing that. So when I get to do that for a movie, I get to let my mind run wild.
Oh yeah,
For the most recent film you saw, Nobody's Perfect, which I think is
so,
right here. This little poster right here.
yeah,
We
oh,
the names of the two characters. Uh, we One of the inspirations for the film was Superbad, just because of how they interacted with each other, and I just love that movie. So their names, I literally pulled Seth and Evan, which was Jonah Hill and Michael Cera from Superbad. I'm like, y'all's names are Seth and Evan, and it'll work because you guys already know each other, and it'll work fine. And nobody else realized, except unless I told them that I was like, yeah, they're named after the Superbad guys, but it works. I try to throw in like little Easter eggs or like little like tidbits that I was like, hey, if you're paying attention, you can see the direct influences of what we're working with, But
Nice.
yeah, I try definitely pull from other media, like almost like paying homage, like like tipping my hat to films that I really love, and this is my way of showing back with my own version of it. So, but yeah, for that movie, that was from that was straight from Superbad. Those guys.
No, for sure. And I was going to show the image because this is I mean the movie the video. I mean, of course I watched it, man. It was funny. It was one for me. It was exactly like you said, dude. Because Superbad was kind of I don't know how to explain it, but it was natural. Yet it was funny. Yet it was something that like a lot of people you might oversee and be like, oh yeah, it's just things that happen. But
Yeah,
the story behind as far as the film, man. I mean, I did watch it, and I mean, it was funny, man. I'm not gonna lie, it kept me entertained. It was just like a little, um, it
yeah, a
reminded me
fun
of
little
one of
movie.
those like what can go wrong kind of thing, and things do go wrong. So it's just kind of like okay, you
Yeah,
know what? But yeah, man. I mean, as far as influence, I mean, what other films do you watch as far as like for influence?
in general, or for the that Nobody's Perfect film.
No, no, in general. I mean, just like as far as some of the past films that you've done as far as shorts.
Oh man, I love watching like short films that usually become like bigger movies, like seeing where they start. And
Dude,
a lot of these you can find on YouTube, like Bottle Rocket, which is Wes Anderson's first movie. He filmed it when he was in UT, when he was dorming with one of the Wilson brothers. I think it was Owen. They filmed that movie with no money. It's in black and white. It's like 10 minutes long, and you can tell that they filmed it in Austin, like in a few days. And I love to see it because you can tell exactly where this fits into the larger movie
yeah.
and just the vision that they had for it to begin with. Another example that I'll always pull up is Whiplash used to be a short film, and
I didn't
most of
know
the
that.
budget went to hiring J.K. Simmons, and all the entire short film is it's the scene where it's the rushing and dragging where he slaps him. It's like 15 minutes. That's the whole short film, and that did so well that you can tell that this is just a scene of something bigger. That they very clearly had a bigger vision for this. So you can tell that he just pitched it. It's easier for a studio to see that and say, hey, we'll give you a lot more money if you just keep up the pace with this. I think those
Nice.
two are excellent examples of like student films that really like make their mark.
No, for sure, man. Because one of the things, I mean, I do a lot of movie trailer reviews, and I like
Oh yeah,
watching those, and I like kind of like going back and thinking because there's so many different ways that movie can go, and like you said, it becomes a
yeah,
film, and you watch it, and you're like, oh, damn, okay, it's like I mean, just to find out which angle they took and made it into an actual feature film, man. But I love them though, man. I mean, I know there's YouTube videos out there galore. I mean, I go through this little rabbit hole and I just keep watching them, bro. But there's tons of great stuff out there, man. Now, of course, man. I mean, with the film itself, I mean, you are going to be in San Diego for the Comic Con. No pressure, of course, right? But I mean, you're going out there. What film is that going to be for?
that is going to be for the short film on my website called Back Issues. I didn't direct it or write it, but I produced it with a good friend of mine named Maddox Stockton. He's a student at UT. I remember when he pitched the idea to me last July, and it's the film is about these three guys that rob a bank or whatever, and they're talking about their big heist afterwards after they've already done it, and they're worried about this superhero that's going to get them, and each of them has a different story about the superhero. So when each person says their version of the story, Maddox's idea was, hey, let's reflect this and show like a different era of like comic book history. So one is in the 40s where it's everything's very black and white and it's very straight to the point. We did one in the 60s where it's very much like Adam West, boom biff pow with like the spandex and the sound effects. And then we did the final one. We said, okay, well, let's go super modern. Let's try like Robert Pattinson Batman. So we did like the eyeshadow and like the leather suits and everything, and it's all for the same guy. It was the same actor for all three of them, and we just had a blast doing it. And yeah, that one's you can watch that one for free on my website. It's called Back Issues. We shot that over the course of 2 days. And yeah, it'll be screening at San Diego Comic-Con at the end of the month. We had to keep that secret for a little while, but now it feels really cool to finally be able to tell people that a lot of people are going to watch it.
No, no, for sure, man. You see, and of course, I mean, I did put the your website on the scrolling bar at the bottom, just so people can go and actually follow
Oh,
you up.
sweet. Awesome.
One of the things I liked about that, man, was the fact that you actually branded yourself. I mean, because you get on IMDb or you get on anywhere, and there's a lot of Josh Collins, bro. So of course, for people to
Yeah,
be able to find you
there really
directly,
are.
it's like, but
Yeah,
you have
to
your
my
website.
surprise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. But I mean, of course, branding. I mean, when it comes to filmmaking, I mean, of course, you have your own technique, your own way of setting up and getting things done. Um, you do have an influence. So I mean, what would it mean for somebody years later to be like using you as an influence, bro?
Oh, that would mean the world. That would be such a full circle moment for myself. I'm not going to sit here and lie and be like, "Oh, I don't have any influences." No, obviously I see movies that I really like or I see media that I really like and I use that to influence my creative process. So if someone were to say that to me, that would be such a full circle. I'd feel incredibly humbled because I'm like, I don't know if I'm the guy that you should be drawing influence from, but I do appreciate it.
No, but you see, I mean, a lot of times, and it's just like with anything in life. I mean, there's certain things that work for you that might not work for me, and vice versa. But there's somebody out there who's
Yeah.
doing things differently, and they're like, somebody can relate to it and be like, oh man, that makes sense. I'm going to go ahead and go that route. But I can definitely see it. I mean, the fact that you look at the angles of the film, the speed. I mean, when it comes to actually getting down and getting everything set up. I mean, there's a lot that goes to it, man, and I wouldn't be able to do anything like that. I mean, that's just me. But the fact that you're doing it and making it happen, man. I mean, of course, it's a great thing, man. I mean, people are going to be watching
Yeah,
those
thank you.
these films, these shorts for years and years, bro. So that's pretty exciting, man.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. All of my projects that I work on, they don't go on YouTube or Vimeo. So the only way to traffic is I funnel it. I'm like, look, you can watch them all for free on my website, but that's the only condition. You can't go to YouTube or nowhere else to see them for now at least.
No, you see, but I like that too, though, bro, because there's no other choice but for people to go to your website. I mean, I'm real big with
Yeah,
that when
I'm
it
like
comes to
you're forced to
promoting.
look around and see what else
Yeah,
there is.
exactly. You see, and I'm like that. I'm like, man, like whatever it's gonna bring, and it's not so much because um I'm seeking the attention. I mean, of course, I want to be able to grow what I'm doing. A lot of the photos when it comes to the fights and whatever it is I go and take, I always put them on the website, and I'm like, man, they're free. You just got to go to the website and get them, man. Like, I mean, I'm not charging for them. I do it because I want to. Catching for photos of the fights, man. I mean, it's like I tell people, it's better than
Yeah,
VIP. I got media pass, bro. I'm K side, I'm ringside. Can't do any
yeah,
better.
hell yeah,
And let
yeah.
me ask
Again,
you,
I
bro.
always pitch it to her. I'm like, look, yeah, what's up?
No, no, go ahead, go ahead. I'll bring it up.
No, I was just gonna say I always reiterate to people. I'm like, look, you go to the website. It's free. You don't pay for anything. There's no ads. All you do is just you can watch whatever I have because there's literally just give it a few months and there's always going to be something new that I'm working on.
No, no, for sure, man. And yeah, dude. I mean, I've got a blog on my website, and I keep trying to pick at it, man. And it's another something else that I got to work on. I got to find me somebody local to just fill it up. I mean, the website itself gets a lot of hits. I'm grateful. The traffic's great, man. And it's just I want to set it up to where it's like I've got different platforms. I'm on like everybody else. I'm on Instagram and
Yeah.
Facebook and everything else. But the website is the one that I want to keep
Mhm.
feeding, though.
Yeah, because again, that's your website is like you can treat it like your portfolio, but you have
Yeah.
complete control over what you're showing off and who you're showing it off to. So I commend you for that. I'm a big fan of using websites to show like everything that you have.
No, yeah, and then they kind of I like it personally, Matt, too, because it gives you ownership. It feels like, hey, this is mine. I mean, you put it on
Yeah.
YouTube, it's not public,
Hmm.
and it goes everywhere. But the website, you get to keep it, and it's just like, hey, you put a lot of hard work and sweat into these projects. So the least it can do is go to your website and click on that stuff, man.
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you, bro. I mean, I keep bringing up combat sports, man. Are you a fan? Think I lost you, bro.
What's
Hold
up,
on, give me a
Spider?
second. Oh no, I lost you for a split second, but I was gonna
Bad,
say,
bad,
as
bad.
far as combat sports, I mean, are you a fan of the UFC? I mean, boxing, kickboxing?
I'm so glad you asked. Nobody has asked me before. I secretly love the UFC. I used to be able to not be able to stomach it because I'm like, oh god, everyone's beating the shit out of each other. And now
Brutal, bro.
I'm like, let's go Alex Peretta. Let's go. I'm like, I know all like the cheese man. I'm like, why is Kamzat? Why can't he start a fight? What's going on? Like,
Yeah,
yeah, no big.
man.
I've I
I,
wasn't
I,
into it a few years ago, and now I'm full into it, and I'm loving it. Like I'll stay up late. I'll try and stream some of the fights because God, some of them are good. It's like watching a big chess match in front of you. A
oh
lot of people
yeah,
think it's
bro.
really just punches and kicks. And I'm like, no, like
Yeah.
it's a chess
You
match.
see,
You make one wrong move, you're going to sleep.
exactly,
Yeah,
bro. And that's all I tell people, man. It's MMA. Anything can happen, man. I mean, even champions crumble.
exactly.
It's somebody's time. I
Hmm.
was gonna say because when it comes to, I mean, I'm on the UFC Fight Pass. I stream a lot. I mean, I'm home, and it's like with that thing, there's fights every week. It's like 2, 3 promotions, like Monday,
Oh
Friday,
yeah.
sometimes Thursday. From Paris and South Africa, and it's just like crazy, bro. But I enjoy it, man. I will say this: when it comes to covering the events live, the hardest thing for me is taking photos or doing video, and the guy that's on the getting the rough end of the fight, man, make eye contact,
Yeah,
bro. And I'm like,
man.
damn, like I gotta look away, man. But
It
it's
looks
just
all swollen and yeah,
yeah.
it's rough.
Yeah, they get pretty beat up, man. But these guys, I commend them, dude, because stepping inside that ring, that cage takes a lot, and they're out there testing their skills. So by
Oh
all means,
yeah.
bro.
That's a whole different type of like either bravery or you're just willing to throw your body on the line. I tip my hat to you because I'm like I could never, I know I'm a itty bitty white guy. I'm like I would not survive in an octagon at all. But shout out to everybody that can.
Yeah, we'll put you in a training camp, man. We'll give you a year, bro. You'll be ready, bro. You're out there, man. Now, well, let me ask you. I mean, of course, you see, you draw influence for writing for a lot of things that you watch. So, can we see a fight film in the future or a short?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I would love to do a fight film. I would have to like sit down and plan it, but I would not rule one out. I think given that, even in the film you just saw that we had like stunts and we worked with a local San Antonio dojo, to make sure that it not only looked somewhat realistic, but also that everyone was safe. So
Right.
I had such a blast filming that I would definitely not rule out some kind of fight film. I think there's a lot of okay fight films out there, which makes me feel good because I'm like, well, if I really try, like you could really come up with like a really cool premise. So I would absolutely love to do one. I think the window is there for one. I don't,
Yeah.
regardless of Rocky or Creed or whatever. I think there's always going to be a good story, and if it means that it's in the world of combat sports or mixed martial arts, I'm 1,000%. I would love to do something in that world. That'd be incredible.
No, no, for sure, man. I mean, one of the things that I've noticed even through the years is that a lot of times, even like the fighters from Brazil, I mean, they come from the slums. They come from nothing,
Yeah, man.
and it's like, for the most part, it's like, man, I mean, fighting is the only way they can go to get out of that situation, and it's like a lot of them make it, bro. Jose Aldo was always my biggest, one of my
Yeah,
biggest,
Jose Aldo,
fighters,
you,
bro. I've got Randy Silva,
Alex
the super
Pereira.
great
He
guy.
was a tire
Yeah,
shop worker before he was
yeah.
fighting. Like people don't believe
So
that.
it's
I'm like,
like
this dude
like
was
a
working with his
Cinderella
hands,
story,
and
man.
now he can kill you. Yeah.
No, he'll change your tire and your skull, but yeah, man, that'd be pretty cool, man. I'm gonna keep up with you on that, man, to see maybe later on you get something. I mean, I know
Yeah,
you
dude.
got your people as well, but I've got some gym owners here with the cage and rings, bro.
Hey,
So
we
let
can
me
look.
know.
I have the crew. I got the cameras. We can make something happen.
Ooh,
That'd be
let's
awesome.
go. Let's go right now. You busy? No, I'm just joking. But yeah, bro. I mean, we'll definitely talk on that, man. And of course, man. Let me ask you. I mean, when it comes to
For
writing, I
sure.
mean, of course, you're making these films, but as far as paper, I mean, are you working on a novel? Are you working on short stories? Are you working on anything that might be on paper format?
I haven't. I have family members that are really into writing novels and books, and I think that that's super awesome. And I don't want to rule myself out and say that I would never do that, but I feel like I'm so focused on like pre-production
Right.
and filming takes so much time. But I would love to sit down and like whether or not I'm doing a novel or just writing on like experiences. I would love to write, given that I can pump out thousands of words like like nothing. That yeah, writing is, I love it like so much that I definitely would. It's just that I'm
Yeah.
so slammed right now that if I had the time to write a novel or a book, I totally would. But I'm way too backed up to
Not
give it
right now.
the thought
Not
and
right
care
now.
that it deserves. Yeah.
No, no, for sure, man. I was just curious, man, because a lot of times I know there's a few people that I know, and I mean they got a blog, so they'll get on them, they'll write on it just for backup,
Hmm.
or
Oh yeah.
they got something that they might work on later on and go to. So that's pretty cool, man.
Yeah,
But
man.
of course, man, let me ask you, when you said right now, you said you have a film crew. I mean, is this like friends, people that you've known that you've worked with, or where did you meet these guys?
Yeah, it's mostly friends, whether I met them through the crowd at SAC or the UTSA film department. Excuse me. We, just by working together so many times, you kind of get used to, I'm like, these are my guys. I love these guys. I care for these guys. I can't imagine working on making a film without them in one way, shape, or form. But yeah, just from all the corners of San Antonio, people coming together to make something, that people that believe in what I've written, that always means a lot to me. And I love to shine the light back on the crew that I work with, whether it's the people at Sock Puppet Studio or the Sauce Productions. Those guys are all like students like my age, and the fact that we're able to make these projects together, I'm always incredibly grateful. Yeah, yeah, we come from all the weird little corners of San Antonio to make these movies.
That's where the creativity comes from, bro. I always tell people, man, I went to high school. Like everybody
Yeah.
that I hung out with in high school was an artist, bro. Whether they were, when it comes to drawing, painting, storytelling. I mean, they were so creative, and it's one of the things I was jealous of, because I was just like, man, I couldn't. I wanted to get into photography. This is before digital. We started to develop film, and going. I signed up for it. I think it was my sophomore year, and the first week of school, I'm like hyped up because I'm like, dude, I'm gonna start taking photos. This is cool, and they tell us, hey, tomorrow bring your camera. And come to find out, we had
Mhm.
to bring our own camera. I didn't know that. I didn't have one, so it's like they had to get me out of the class, bro. And it was brutal. It kind of killed me, and it took me years, later to finally pick one up and start doing it again. So I'm glad I did. I think you broke up real quick. Hold on. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I can hear you, Spider.
Okay. No, no, that's
Unfortunate
good.
timing with the storm coming down on me.
I know, man. I know. And then you know what? And I'm gonna bring you back
Uh,
on here, man. I just wanted to plug this in because you have a couple of great things coming up. I'm wishing you the best, bro. But before we wrap this up, man, I mean, is there anything you want to say, bro?
yeah, I just keep an eye out. We got some really cool stuff cooking, especially in the next 6 months. There's a film that's going to screen at the San Antonio Film Festival called 30 Minutes Are Dead. That was written by one of my good friends, Dylan Gloria. I loved it so much that I worked with him and we wrote the sequel for it that we're going to film this week. That's going to be really super awesome. Uh, we're going to film a proof of concept short for the Inferno by Dante sometime early next year. That one's going to be really like balls to the walls crazy, and I'm super excited to get started on that. And then even just broader scope of things. I can't say a whole lot just because of
Right.
contracts and agreements, but I'm working on a documentary for revolving around this man that's running for mayor, Beto Altamirano. I'm really passionate for his mission and what he likes for San Antonio. So I'm keep an eye out for my spin on this like love letter to San Antonio next year. We've been working on it for a few months now, and we'll be bleeding through that until sometime mid next year, whenever it's finally finished. But yeah, those three alone just take up almost all of my time, whether it's writing or calling people or trying to set up meetings. But yeah, I would just say just keep an eye out. There's some really really cool stuff that's going to be coming out in the next 6 months, and I mean, you guys, there's only one way to see it. So
Yeah. No, no, of course, they got to go to your website too, right? I mean, so for them to
yeah,
to look you up, of course, www.joshcollinsfilms.com. And my
that's
man,
how I
I
do it. Yeah.
appreciate you, man. But let me ask you, I mean, and I know because the storm's starting to hit over here too, man. I don't want to lose a signal because it's starting to get pretty edgy.
It's all
But
good.
yeah, I do want to bring you back on here. You guys are going to be filming next week, you said?
Yeah, we begin filming on Friday. I'll be filming it for about a week or two. And then as for the documentary, I've been filming it since June, and I'll be working on it till next June. So
Oh, wow.
But
Sweet.
definitely, hey, would love to come back on. Hey, maybe
Yeah.
there's a
Oh, yeah.
combat sports movie down the line there as well.
Yeah,
Love
bro.
to pick
We'll
your brain on
definitely
that
work
and
on that,
see
man.
see how we
We'll
can
work
do
on
something
that.
really cool with that.
Man,
Oh
well, I
yeah.
appreciate you, man. And I mean, of course, I don't want to cut this short, man. I mean, I'll definitely bring you back on here. We'll talk a little bit more. But I want to thank you, man. I mean, don't hang up yet, bro. Everybody out there, of course, once again, this is Spida Coming Soon Podcast. Till next